Thank you very much for having us. I will kick off this presentation with this three lovely Earths we all know, but somehow this seems odd. I mean, do we actually have three Earths? No, not really. But actually, if everybody lives like the people in Germany, the industry in Germany, we would actually require three Earths to sustain this living. But actually, it's difficult. We just have, oh no, not the 1.75. We still have not 1.75 Earths globally for sustaining like our needs of the greedy taking of resources. So globally, the world needs 1.75 Earths to sustain if we would live like this for further time. So the overshoot day when we used all the resources which are available globally was reached on the 1st of August 2024. So we are living on debt since then, so it's actually difficult. And yeah, we only have this one. What shall we do about it? But actually, there is a concept. Like nature learned it us quite good. So it's called circular economy. Nature didn't know waste. Nature didn't know emissions. So they have like a balance system. They produce leaves from the trees. They fall down. They build soil. It builds nutrients, it builds trees again, so on, so on. So you know what I'm talking about. But actually, the humanity came and introduced waste. But then we're world record leaders in recycling, aren't we? Not really. So only 7.2% of all the resources we use globally are actually cycling around 7.2%. And this number isn't increasing, it's decreasing year by year. So we should do something about it. And I'd like to introduce you Matthias from Bystronic. He's head of R&D, and he will tell you about what we are doing and what Bystronic is doing.
Yes, thank you very much, Matthias Kreuter. So I'm responsible in Europe for Bystronic for research and development. In Switzerland, we do these pretty cool machines you see here. With laser light, we cut metal. In Germany, we produce then press brakes. The press brakes are used to bend the parts that we just cut on these machines. And also in Italy, we have a team to develop and produce machines for profiles. And actually, our customers, usually they, for example, manufacture furniture, or they're in the automobile business, they in the construction business, they do big diggers, yellow goods, or kitchens, white goods. So it's quite a large industry that we cover. And as I said, we develop and manufacture the machines. Our customers then produce the parts. And I'm really looking forward to share a few ideas and words about what we are doing at Bystronic to go more direction circularity. And with this, I would hand over back to you.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Matthias, I wanted to say. So a brief words to me. So as you heard, this is Bystronic, and I'm Ronny from Zühlke. We are like a consulting, engineering, transformation / we do kind of everything company. We're doing software engineering, but also hardware engineering. We do data and AI, but also transformation in the area of sustainability and digital transformation. So we're a global company with roughly 2,000 people. We're based in Zurich in Switzerland, but also with offices in Germany and Austria and UK and Singapore and Hong Kong. Our goal is to transform companies towards a sustainable future. So we want to help them to like make business, but sustainable for the society, but also for a planet. So because this is the foundation of the future of economy. If the society, or but also the world or the planet isn't there, we can't do business anymore. So we need to do something about it. And circularity as a concept is there for a long time, but actually we're still in the linear economy, aren't we? And I'd like to briefly explain why we need to move out of this linear economy. And I was kind of disappointed of the last couple of, not presentations, but conferences because everybody was talking about, yeah, we do circular economy, but actually they were talking about recycling and linear economy still. So we should really think forward. So why we need to move out of this linear economy? And I really call it linear economy. So because resources are scarce. So at some point we just don't have anything more. If we want to grow and grow and grow and take and take and take, there is something we don't have anymore. That's the resources for creating raw materials, for creating products, but also to power our economy with fossil fuels. And this leads, as some economists would say, to a demand-supply problem, right? And the cost will increase. But also, as you heard before from the input from P3, there are some regulatory coming. So the regulatory pressure in Europe is huge in the area of sustainability. So we should probably be aware that this regulatory will enforce some changes, and better be aware of that before than later. Moreover, if we just as a company stay in the area where we are in the linear economy, and others are changing because they see something is coming, we lose our advantages on the market, and we lose maybe the market share. So we should think of this change as an opportunity. And last but not least, investors and consumers, but also talents, change their behavior. So investors more and more invest into ESG, high performers companies, and like talents of tomorrow maybe prefer to work for a company which is sustainable, circular, and not traditional dinosaur working in the linear economy. So we should think of this to have in mind and go in this direction. But what is actually the linear economy? So what do we understand under this term? So actually, we have a pre-use phase on this value hill, we call it. In this area, companies produce products made out of primary resources extracted from the soil, from the ground, from planet Earth, which are finite. They take it, they manufacture some components, assemble them together to products, then sell it to the client, and off we go, job done, product sold, not our problem anymore. So this is the term of the linear economy, and you all think now, well, tell me something new, we're doing something already there. So yeah, sure, consumers are using the products, they are creating value. They're using the products to like fulfill their needs, but at some point, yeah, it all goes down the hill, the value hill, down to the incineration and landfilling and losing value. Like the products are losing value quickly after they are no more used by the clients, or because they're, for example, technological obsolescence is there, or there is like new features are coming, and clients can just no more use the products as they wanted to. And the companies, they don't care because it's not in their liability. It's not that they can do something about there, or they think they can do, but actually they can. I will show you that in a minute. So to summarize, we are having today open material flows, and we use fossil energy to power the economy. You might now think, yeah, we're not doing that. And yeah, I agree. We are no more in this state, like in this very traditional linear economy. We already advanced a little bit further. So what do we understand on the circular economy actually? So first, we should look at retaining the value of products. This should be the obvious goal of the circular economy, to keep the value of products and systems as high as possible. And when we talk about recycling, we go down, does that work? Yeah, we go down to this point. So we don't look at this point, we always look at this point, so where the value is the lowest. But actually we should change. We should change our thinking, that we first think of how can we maintain the value as high as possible. I mean, I don't have my smartphone, but I always like to show my smartphone, because a smartphone has the highest value when it's working in my hands. The second highest value is when it's reused by a second consumer, for example, in a secondary market, or if it's refurbished when the battery is broken and you need to put in a new battery, for example, then it's still better than when it's recycled material, because the value of the material is the lowest of the product, because all the energy, all the money which is spent for manufacturing the product is getting lost. So to summarize, we should work towards like closed material flows and power the economy with renewable energies, because this is what nature told us and did for many, many years, and we can learn from it. It's not rocket science, but we should think of how can we as companies and as economy like make this right side, like the post-use phase, an area for adding value. How can companies add value there? How can we make money out of it? Because in the end, we are all like in a system where we need to earn money as companies, and how can we monetize this area or these loops? So we should think of that. And Matthias will show you some examples how Bystronic tried and is trying to monetize these loops.
Yeah, I will start with a bit something else. So about 2 years ago, finally at Bystronic, we decided actually sustainability, that's an important topic. It's probably also a topic where we can differentiate to our strong competitors from Asia. And we were thinking what to do next. And we had no clue. What should we do now? So together with Zühlke, we did this life cycle analysis that you see the results here. It's for 2 different machines, and you see the results are very, very different. On top, you see a press brake. That's machines we develop and manufacture in Germany. Very heavy machines that basically just move up and down to bend sheets. And here you see the blue part, the manufacturing. It's quite an important part of the whole footprint. So it's roughly 40%. So we know now this is a big leverage, especially steel parts. You see it here, which are around 35% of the whole footprint. So this is something we can work on. On the other side, I guess you understand the machines need to be very robust, so there's also some limit where we can invest. Then the very small stripes you see, transport and packaging. Yes, of course, we try to improve this a bit, but it's not where we have the big leverage. Where you see also big leverage is the energy consumption. So maybe 60% overall the lifetime is for the energy use. And what's really shocking is there about also 30%, 25, 30%, it's in standby. Imagine the machine is just standing and using so much energy, more than when it's really running. So this is old pictures. The new machines, the new software can this much better. But this really helped us that we knew we need to improve the standby mode. That was a low-hanging fruit. It doesn't cost us much, and now we really improved there a lot. The second machine we analyzed, it's a laser cutting machine. So there you see the manufacturing part, it's quite small. The machines, laser cutting machines, they use a lot of energy in operation. You can imagine several kilowatts of laser power. They don't have a very good wall plug efficiency, so a lot of heat that we also have to cool down. So you see the energy use also significant over the lifetime, much more than production. This we kind of knew, but there we have a limited impact. We can buy more efficient lasers. Some of them are available. They're more expensive. Customers are not really willing to pay. So not so much leverage. On the other side, the very big surprise on the gas. So we use oxygen or nitrogen to cut, to have a nice surface or to cut faster. And we were not really aware of this. Now, of course, here also, the gas is used for the process. So if you reduce it, we might have less good quality, so customers need to throw away more parts. But at least we knew we have a leverage there, and that's something we work very hard on, that we can reduce the impact there. So from this point of view, very interesting to realize where we have a lever to reduce the overall impact of our machines. And then, actually, I'm an engineer. Usually I don't talk so much, but I agreed with Ronny. When I talk too much and too long, he will just kick me, so I will stop. Because there's so much to tell you. In the beginning, I was afraid we don't do so much at Bystronic. And also, I'm not marketing. As I said, I'm an engineer, so we'll be very honest with you. Many of these things we did without having circularity or sustainability in mind. They really make business sense. And this is great. It's great news. A lot of these things that are good for your environment, also good for your pocket. And so I will just mention a few of them. For example, material reduction and improvement of robustness. This is really something we do in R&D. We manufacture in Europe. So we will always be more expensive than our competitors from Asia. So we also need to provide something additionally. So what we could do, we could build very massive machines, maybe fill them with concrete so they're perfectly robust. But then we would shoot ourselves out of the market. It would be way too expensive. So what we did here is with our experts from R&D, from supply chain, from the manufacturing, put them together in one room, and in closed loops, they optimized this main structure of the machine, and they were able to take out a lot of material, so make it lighter, less impact from the material side, and still make it more robust, so our customers will be more happy. And environment will, of course, also be more happy because we will have a smaller impact and a longer duration, possibly, of the machines. So a lot of winners in this situation. That's one part. Or then during lifetime, during the operation of the machine, these machines are very complex. So we try to help our customers to use them in the best possible way. And one is already helping the customers to use recycled materials. they usually vary a bit in the quality, in the way they set up. So the cutting quality can also change. We help the customers there. So less waste, meaning more money in the pocket for the customer, but of course also better for the environment. Or we help the customer to use as much of the sheet as possible. Actually, what I showed you before with all the impact, it's without the sheet metal the customer is using, and this has a huge impact. This is not in our scope, basically. We heard it from Tim before. Beyond value chain, if we can impact this, the overall impact of our machines will be really significantly reduced, and that's also why we work on these topics. Also on the software side, we call it a wizard to help the customer to really use the machines in an optimal way. What is very clear, we have a very big service organization. We do what we call 360 advisors, so an expert goes to the customer and helps him to see what is maybe not running well with the machine. So the machine is used a longer time in a more efficient way. This is basically standard approach in the industry. But now I think that's really exciting stuff. We do more for the circularity. And for example, what we do is we help our customers to resell the machines. So when he buys a new machine, we help him to resell it. And so sometimes the machine is really end of life and nobody wants to buy it the way it is. So we have 2 refurbishment centers. So the machines go there, they completely dismantled, completely cleaned, and a lot of new spare or parts are there. The machine basically looks like new. And then we can resell them. And in the past, this worked very well. But maybe some of you are aware, about 10 years ago, there was a change from CO2 laser to fiber laser. Fiber lasers have a much, much higher wall plug efficiency. So now it's also a bit, should we use these machines, the old machines, which are very inefficient, but a lot of gray energy, a longer time, or do we rather replace them with a much more efficient new machine? And at the moment, it's clear for the customers to go for the new machine. They don't pay so much more, but they really have the latest technology. So unfortunately, this really nice example of circularity is rather being reduced a little bit. A second example, which is also about refurbishment, is our cutting head. So the optical part of our machines, it's really a high-tech module because there's a lot of laser power. So you can imagine there's heat dissipation, there may be dirt, which we have to avoid. So they break regularly. And to buy a new one, it's very expensive, very costly. So we take them back and refurbish them, meaning opening them, cleaning them. This takes some time. So the customer then gets in the same time a refurbished cutting head. So there we also have a very interesting new business model. So the customer can use his machine, and at the same time we reuse the parts and just replace what is really needed. A big topic is also software and controls. You can imagine you all have electronic devices which need upgrades quite regularly. On such a complex machines, that's a bit more difficult. But there we also try to help our customers on one side to get the latest upgrades. So security patches will also work. Cybersecurity is of course an important topic. But in the same time also helping our customers then to get new functionality. Helping him also to use the machine in an efficient way or for new applications a longer time. Yeah, so you see there's a lot of things we're already doing at Bystronic. At some we are very successful, others a bit less. And what is quite new now is that we really also try, not just out of business reasons, but really for circularity and sustainability reasons to push some topics. There's always a bit the question of willingness to pay from the customer. But I guess Ronny will talk a little bit more about this. So to summarize a bit the opportunities, benefits, there's a lot. It can be very beneficial. For example, also the chance to introduce new business models, as I mentioned with the cutting head. We don't just sell the cutting heads, but we allow the customers to have a certain uptime, and customers are willing to pay for this because this is a real benefit for them. And of course, for us, it's also a benefit because we don't just sell once a part, but we have a very strong customer loyalty. We are very close to the customer, which also helps us, of course, if you want to sell a new machine or provide new services, to be close to the customers. On the other side, it helps us to avoid reputation loss. I guess you're all aware of all the scandals that are common in other industries. We really try to avoid this in providing efficient machinery and also looking a bit ahead, anticipating new laws. So we all know they're coming. We heard it also this morning. And when we are ahead of the time, of course, that can be a differentiator towards competitors, but also then we are ready and we can stay in the market easily. And last but not least, especially Germany is very good at that. When you sell machines with a better efficiency, which use less energy than the old ones, sometimes you get subsidies. And then, of course, also customers are willing to pay a bit more for a machine that might be a bit more expensive, but have a better efficiency overall. So a lot of opportunities and benefits. And now Ronny, he will be the bad guy showing all the challenges.
Well, it sounds simple, maybe. But as you know, it's not always that simple as it is on the paper. Like, yeah, there is like the value hill and just do it. It's something needs to be done. And when we look at challenges and approaches to overcome these challenges, we laid out like 4 main areas we see the majority of challenges. So first is really to get the data and understand the real lever you have as a company. So I think Matthias can confirm what I'm saying, so that without doing a proper life cycle assessment of your products, you actually don't know really by heart where do we have the lever. So is it in the use phase, or is it in the manufacturing of the components? So where should we really pull the trigger, or should turn the screws? Like where can we change really something? I think this is really eye-opening to see like the low-hanging fruits when we get the data. And for this, we need to do some life cycle assessments, and there are good approaches out there. There is an ISO standard for it, how to do it, and we shouldn't be afraid of doing life cycle assessment, and we should not only do life cycle assessments for the sake of doing life cycle assessment. I think this is very important, because when we talk to head of sustainabilities, I sometimes get the feeling that life cycle assessment is a tool to report, to get the data, put it in the report, create a nice PDF, job done. But actually we should do something with it. Like we should use this data to use it in the engineering. So we came up with an approach to combine the impacts of a product with the functions of a product, and then see which function of a product you can always like derive functions which a product should fulfill. You can combine these 2 aspects, and then you know how much impact does a function have. And when you then take the third dimension of costs to the functions, you can compare like what is the cost, what is the environmental cost, and what is the function, and maybe what is the user need. And when you see that, for example, a smartphone has a function of providing battery life, and the battery life doesn't have high costs and doesn't have high impact, that's good. But if an unnecessary function, for example, does have a high impact and high cost, then you can really work on this and improve on it. So use the data early on in the engineering from life cycle assessments alongside cost assessments to really change something in the engineering aspects and bring in best practices to really improve it. Because 80% of the impact of a product is defined in the 20% or in the first 2 phases of a product development, like very early on. So if we take the knowledge we learned from predecessor machines, for example, and use this knowledge in the development of new ones, we can really improve upon it. For sure, there are other drawbacks we need to make. We need to balance the aspects we implement, but we should think of it. And sometimes I compare it to the aviation industry. So when we look at the aviation industry, the Wright brothers, for example, back in time, they didn't care about safety. They really didn't care. So they just wanted to fly further than they flew before, so they didn't care about it. But nowadays, if you tell it Airbus, yeah, you shouldn't care about safety, you just need to fly, you wouldn't sit in an airplane, right? And so safety got a standard, it got a culture in engineering. It's like a safety culture. And the same should happen with sustainability or circularity aspects. It really should become, in the development process, a horizontal line which you take through from the beginning until the end of the stage gate process and have it in mind. Then the next topic or next challenge we see is the willingness to pay by the customer, but also the willingness to invest by companies. So it's a chicken egg problem. So what is first? So who pays first, right? So one approach we see there is to really shift from manufacturing costs to total cost of ownership or life cycle costs. So if you think of an electric car, we all know when we use it over the entire lifetime, it will cost less. But at the beginning, the upfront costs are probably higher. So OPEX versus CAPEX, right? So we should try to anticipate, especially for energy-intensive machines, which are more efficient, but maybe are a little bit more costly in the upfront investment, to shift to a total cost of ownership approach, and also try to convince internal stakeholders to think of this as an approach to sell it towards customers. And last but not least, when we did all this here, we improve our products, right? Like step by step, the products get more efficient, get more circular, get better repairable. And this leads to the opportunity that we can come up with new business models. But new business models, as example, product as a service, or laser cutting as a service, or cut sheet metal as a service, is really difficult, because if you build a machine, you still need to build it, and then you don't sell the machine, but you put it at the side of the client. And this means that the machine is an asset of Bystronic, but it's not anymore a Bystronic, but you produce it, but you didn't pay, nobody paid it for you. So the time until the revenue covered your spendings is way longer than when you just sell it. So for this, we need to think of how can we change it. We need to first break up silos internally, so to really first improve the products, that they are easily manufacturable and maintainable, so that they cost as little as possible in the life phase, but also try to pilot new business models, like really smart, start small, and instead of say, okay, we have a good idea for new business models and let's rush in, really start small and try it, and then you learn it slowly by slowly, but it's still a challenge, and you probably need to expand your network of your ecosystem to banks at some point to really cover these costs. To summarize, what we actually want to tell you is really we should lead the circular transformation in Europe, because we don't have that much of natural resources as other countries have, don't we? So what I always have in mind is like the machines and the products we produce in Europe, or maybe we import them, but at some point they're located in the European Union or in our countries. We should see them as a stock of raw material for the future. And we should really try to tap into these components and materials to use them for future machines and products we will build. So we should see it as an opportunity for future generations to do something. And to get there, I really can advise to start small, but start. Like really try something out, do a life cycle assessment of your products, and try to improve the product small by small, step by step. And then if you see that something works, we can scale it. If it doesn't work, stop the experiment. And the second part is for sure, like all of you did great already because you share the knowledge. So partner for innovation. We can't solve it by our own. We can't solve circularity in silos. We need to exchange with competition. We need to exchange with partners, with other industries, to really learn from each other, to do some symbiosis in industrial meanings, and to come up with solutions. And that's from our side. I wanted to say something, but it's thank you very much.
Thank you very much.